Welcome to the Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Do you want to step up your game? Pursue your dreams. Be the best version of yourself. The Reinvented Life is here to help. The Reinvented Life is about courage. It's about staying relevant. It takes grit. It defies gravity. It's about taking inventory of where you are today and where you want to go. Embrace change. Make things possible and reinvent your life. Call in with questions at 888-994-4995. Now, it's time to reinvent your life with Pamela Chanel.
Well, welcome everyone back to the Reinvented Life. Excited to have you here and excited to really start this week off continuing the conversation that we had last week, because we've had a lot of feedback from people that are really starting to think about this notion of shortchanging oneself. And so we want to kind of address it, get it out there, and really look at how we can reinvent it. And when I say we, I'm talking today again with Dawn and Freddie, the founders of AMP2 Media, the hosts and the founders of the Brooklyn Cafe. And here we are together again, hello, coast to coast, talking about this notion of not just how we're shortchanging ourselves, but really why we are, and most importantly, how do we empower ourselves to not do that anymore? So thank you for being on the Reinvented Life show again today.
I want to just bring up one point of interest. So we're going to talk about how you don't shortchange yourself. But I also want you to touch on the abilities of others, giving others a chance so that they have the ability to do that. Because a lot of people, they fail at something and all the insecurities begin to happen and you shortchange yourself. But it has a lot to do with believing that nobody either gives you an opportunity, or if they do, you mess it up. And is there a second? Should there be more accountability, less accountability? So does that help you with feeling less shortchanged?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the key to it, Freddie. And that's why I appreciate us continuing this conversation. Oftentimes, and it goes back to the notion that we touched on last time, is that, saying, I guess, which is it's better to give than to receive. And that's what it really starts with. We get conditioned that it's better to give than to receive. And so the allowing of the receiving is where this really starts. Because many people minimize themselves, shortchange themselves, shrink to fit into situations that they don't feel that they are allowed to be their full self in. And so that's where this starts, is if we can be the source of receiving and allowing people to give their full expression of themselves, then it becomes a question and a transition, Freddie, from the accountability to the authenticity. And really what it comes down to is, are we acting in such a way that it's authentic for us, but allowing people to be authentic with themselves, and we receive that?
I think that the important aspect of not shortchanging yourself is to make sure that you give it your all, you leave nothing on the table, and then you can honestly say you did the best you could. But if you can't do that, then you have to take accountability. You got to say, I didn't do the best I could.
Well, is that what shortchanging yourself means? Or shortchanging yourself means stop giving away your shine?
Well, it depends. If you're on top of the mountain and you're giving away your shine, you're going to be in the basement real quick. If you're on top of the mountain, you have to know how to balance it out. you got to give people an opportunity to go fishing so they can now learn to hunt. So there, I stand with you 100%. But the more that I see, people are just so insecure about even trying because they shortchange themselves into believing they're not going to be successful.
Yeah. Well, it starts with this notion of this previous conditioning that people have and this insecurity. You can't even believe how prevalent it is with people. Even people that are functioning in society with, very powerful or high paying jobs or meaningful work or anything people are out there doing, it goes back to we are not human doings, we are human beings. So even if one aspect of someone's life is working, they do lose that shine. I think that's a great way to put it. Or shortchange themselves in other aspects of their lives, in their relationships, in their spirituality, in their emotional health. We are complex beings, and we have to remember what that being means. And there's usually several areas of one's life that need to be working on all cylinders. And when they don't, or when someone's been disrespected or beat up for or not accepted with what they are being, that's where that insecurity comes from. And it shows then up when we've shortchanged ourselves. Are we in the most meaningful relationships? Are we giving back in maybe the work we're doing in the highest level possible? Are we the most impactful, I think would be the best word, in our relationships? And are we even evaluating it? Or is it every day just kind of goes through the habits of what we're used to and we're not thinking about really, are we the most impactful, going back to that word, that we can be?
So it's about being impactful versus shortchanging yourself. Is that two? I see. To me, I feel it's two different things. Shortchanging yourself is maybe, you can, but you don't, or you don't think you can, so you don't. Being impactful means you try to make a positive difference. What do you think?
Well, the key word you're using there is don't. I think that if you keep the word don't out of your vocabulary, you can. And you can in either instance. But you have to believe in yourself that you can. And if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to. It becomes a don't. So I think that they're both the same in one aspect. You got to be able to see the prize to go and get the prize. You can't score if you don't take a shot.
I think we lost Chanel, so I guess we're going to. Oh, there she's back. All right. So
I
that was
think
my
we're back.
question.
Yeah, I think we lost each other.
So that was my question. Is it being impactful? Is it different than shortchanging yourself? Are they two different things, or is it a sliding scale?
I think they're really one and the same. We think of shortchanging ourselves as just not, getting somewhere or doing what we were supposed to do or accepting less than we should. But at the end of the day, if we're not impacting ourselves, empowering ourselves and others, then we are shortchanging ourselves because, as Freddie just said, we're leaving on the table. We're leaving on the table all that we can be in what we're out there in our days being. And one of the things that people don't realize is they just get in to habits of doing the same thing day in and day out and not evaluating, is it the best that they can possibly be, and is it the best they can possibly get out of something? And that's really the part that's missing for a lot of people.
There's an old saying, you either get or get got. So you either got to go get
Yeah.
it or it's going to get you, right? I mean, the bottom line here is sometimes you're only given one opportunity, just one, to make a difference. And then you can't control. Only you can control that one opportunity. The rest of it, whatever happens, happens. But if you don't believe that you can, it starts there. Then you won't take the shot. Do you know how many people I've asked to do shows, either as interview hosts and everything in between? And they look at me and they go, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. There's a lot of I don'ts. A lot of I don'ts. But the moment that they do, and they do a good job, a la my co-host here, 9 years later, you're still doing a good job. You're still doing what you do. You're still doing what you were meant to do. Sometimes you got to be nudged and pushed, but you should believe if you want to do something, go do it.
Actually, Chanel, we have an opportunity October 23rd and 24th. What's the likelihood that we can get you to Florida?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Oh, what I would give anything to get there. Tell me what you're doing.
This is an international trade and commerce convention at the Broward County Convention Center with over 100 countries, 100 over dignitaries that we get to interview, and you're with us to bring a product, to introduce it to the marketplace, women empowerment, youth empowerment, sustainability fashion shows, and it's free to attend. And we're going to be one of their media partners. Can we put you in a chair at the table and you can sit there?
I get you a wheelchair.
And I can sit there. Exactly.
Seriously.
I can figure it out.
I think
Because
it would be worth it.
these kinds of things. It's these kinds of things that are so important that people engage. And I have some physical limitations right now that I never envisioned having. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to get there. I'm going to get there. And
So we
you
got to
can
get
be
you here.
accountable.
Get you a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You can just sit at the table and do what you do just here, because this is the place where you need to be. It's women empowerment, sustainability from women in Africa who are textiles and fashion shows and thousands of people. It's called FITCE, F-I-T-C-E, Florida International Trade and Commerce Expo, FITCEexpo.com. And it's part of, we're going to be there as AMP Media Productions and our Futures Foundation. So exciting things for our crew to get to see with live interviews. But part of it is we need power, right? So it's me getting out of my head and actually sitting down and talking to the people at the convention center, getting the power outlet we need. I've been thinking about this all day, like I have to do it. So even though I'm confident in what I do, it's still the details of things
Now, they show us
in my
on
head
record.
that I'm like, oh.
They show us on record because we did one there about 6
I think
years
they
ago.
did because they pulled up an old order that
It's
we
like
had.
this. And not to be self-righteous, but the other thing is, after talking to you, we've landed a contract with ABC to put commercials on the air and to produce commercials for ABC as well. So now we have Comcast, we have ABC, and there's one more that I'm working on to see. Now, this is a connection she met here at a local venue. I did not go to the venue. She went. And she called the guy in, and I said 1 and 1 equals 3, and they took us on.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So yes, I am going to be there.
Good.
Mark me there, because people need to know what is possible. And that is the power, speaking of power, behind the reinvented life. You know, you can only reinvent so far. And the core word, as we've talked about for years now, of reinvent is inventing. And if we are not in that place of being creative and being inventive, we can only get so far. So that excites me, that this reinvention helps to empower this fantastic engine, if you will, that you guys have created. I mean, I'm so excited.
You know, a lot of it is you have to believe in yourself enough to make the financial investment in yourself. Because as we're working through this situation and they're doing and we're doing, there's still a cost at the end of the day for both parties, whether it's tangible, it's time. And people, I think, have to realize others are not just going to give you the world because they like you.
Yeah.
You have to invest something, whether it's time, money, both, commitment, showing up, being the best of who you are, and following through on the commitments that you make. And there are people, I think, that at times, I always think of our other show that we did, times have changed and people don't want to make that commitment. They think they've paid their dues and it should just come.
Well, but before, there's also one aspect. We don't do what we do without our crew.
True.
And we have an A crew and we got a B crew that are turning into A's. But the B crew are students from college that are learning this deal. I met with a gentleman that did ABC and Manhattan Vision programming back in the day. I saw what he put out, and he's coming here. Of all the places he could go, he's coming here. He pointed out to me sometimes about sound. Sometimes he pointed it out to me because he must have looked at 100 of our shows. But he's coming here Wednesday because he wants to do production here. And without them, there wouldn't be any opportunity to do these things. So therein goes the part about believing in yourself. You got to believe in what's going to get you there as well as believing in yourself.
You know, for both of you, what you exude is the right energy. And that is the key to it all. This entire conversation at its foundation is energy. And the notion of shortchanging yourself is all about, are you minimizing that energy, that frequency that you are exuding out to the world? And that's why it excites me to be part of what you just described on, because we need as a collective to level up this vibration and level up the energy that we bring. So you can have technical knowledge about anything. And again, you could do anything. But if it isn't paired with, if it isn't motivated by, if it isn't energized in the highest capacity, you're, again, shortchanging whatever that is. So to come in your largest and greatest and highest frequency, it is about leveling up that energy so it is aligned with and authentically what you're bringing. And that is what people feel. They want to come to you because you exude that energy that feels right. Why? Because it's authentic. You've worked on it. You keep upgrading it. You don't stay the same. And that is what people need to feel in order to be attracted. So it's absolutely no surprise that that's what's happening. Well, again, it's not holding back on the energy. And sometimes that means doing, again, we're human beings, we're not doing. So doing is not going to always be the answer. So maybe 4 things aren't getting done today, but the one thing you get done is powerful and is impactful. And that is the key to all of it, is whatever we are in terms of our own being, is it authentic? Is it powerful? And is it inspiring others? And because more items on our checklist, on that to-do list, get done, doesn't mean that we've brought the right energy to the most important element we could be doing. We have to learn that. We have to set a few things aside. This takes a long time to learn. This is a process. And so that's why I wanted to bring this forward again. And we're going to bring it forward again and again until people start to see in themselves and in their daily routines what can be shifted, what could be reinvented, and really how simple it is to get it done. It requires effort, but it is simple, and keeping it simple really helps.
And what do you think about experiences being impactful or not shortchanging yourself on even vacations or spending time with family? I don't even think it just has to be business. I think it can be towards anything in life. Being impactful.
Anything.
I think that the bottom line here is if you can enjoy the things that you have, it clears your mind. when things get hard. You know, running a business is not easy. Having a show, there's going to be ups and downs, guests and everything else. So if you are able to take a time out and sort of soothe the waters and feel yourself again, you're saying, you know, I got this. And you get your confidence back, get your edge back, get your edge back. And that just helps everything else move freely.
Absolutely. It's that edge, it's that energy. And John, it is anything, whether it is in your business, your personal, again, even spiritual or emotional way of being. We are made up of all of it. And the idea is we want to get the cylinders rolling. So whatever we are embracing, we're embracing it with the right energy to have the most impact first for ourselves and then for others.
Well, let me ask you about that. As we change, our our families age as well, right? Our parents are aging, our children are aging.
Yeah.
And here we are trying to make the most impactful. We roll into the Jewish holidays, right? A time of reflection this week. It's not like it was when you were raising little kids. You're making an impact on them, but now the impact is still there, but it's different. Boundaries have changed. People are doing different things. Unfortunately, you've lost some family members and loved ones. How do we go about still being impactful and being authentic with changes that are going on with those that we love the most?
It's about growth, and it's about accepting that growth is natural. You know, when we're young, when we're even infants and toddlers and kids and teens, you know, growth just seems natural. And when we come in and stunt it, by the time we get into adulthood, change and growth, which should be feeling normal, doesn't. And we get so stuck on maybe an opinion or the way something should be that it impedes this growth. So at this point in our lives, and really at any point in our life, if we embrace the changes that have happened, as you mentioned, the loss of the way that maybe something was or young, or how it was when we were young, and now as we've gained wisdom and gained knowledge, we have to be accepting, so pliable and so flexible that we can still make an impact, but yes, in a totally different way. When you have young children, your way of being is going to be very different than when they mature themselves and they're out in the world making their own living, making their own way, making their own impact. It is the ability to be flexible that now our focuses need to shift. And people that are stuck on not helping move along those focuses is where the short changing of ourselves actually happens, because we stop doing certain things. We're not raising children anymore, any other aspects of our lives, but it's the idea of replacing that with what's relevant now. So it's the constant taking inventory of, and why what you're mentioning on October 23rd and 24th feels so right, because it's showing people how do they shift and make an impact in a new way. And that's the whole core of it. It's very exciting.
Well, we're excited for you to be there with us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think it's an opportunity to share what we're so happy about. Your influence, and since day one when I met you, is contagious, and to keep growing and going, and to create scenarios, creating scenarios, you know, and there's a whole bunch of new things that are coming that we've never done before, but we're gonna push the envelope and see what works. I mean, we're in season. Season is now. It's time to get up and go, brush it off. It's been a tough summer. Hurricanes and everything are in town, so here we go. It's all about the doing.
Yeah. And being really in the right energy facing it. So thank you so much for this conversation today and this show today. You know, we're on opposite coasts, but we're actually so aligned and together in the efforts that we're making.
Absolutely.
And it's an important concept of commitment. And we all have hurdles, right? Life happens and things, we have to just stay as committed as you can as things pop up, and rely on your family, your coworkers, your partnerships to help lift you and help fill in the pieces when you can't be there, either physically or emotionally, right? Sometimes you can be sitting in a place, but you're not emotionally where you're sitting.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you need
You're,
that family to help you out.
yeah, you're not bringing that energy of being, and it's all about that. And Freddie, you touched on it earlier. It's about that belief that you actually have the ability to make a difference in every conversation, every day that we're here, and we allow the receiving of others to take place. And this is a huge, huge part of it that I have. It's going to be a conversation we're having for a long time.
It's amazing. You had said something to me the other day, Freddie, is you don't realize the impact you have on others, all because they may not say something. They're watching all the time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an important thing for everyone to remember is, my mother always says, do as I say, not as I do. But no, it's really the opposite. Because sometimes you're more impactful by what you do than even what you say.
And again, I'll go back to the way that you're being, the way that you're showing up, the energy you're bringing, the leveling up of the frequency. When you level up your frequency and you are accepting and doing that with others, you actually are leveling up the frequency of the collective. And that's why I want to thank everyone for showing up and listening to this show, whether you're listening or seeing it live or you're listening to this podcast later. The point is that we all have an ability to not shortchange ourselves and give our full commitment. Until our next Reinvented Life episode, I'm thrilled to bring not just this show, but the others to the network and help people and be an inspiration for people showing up as their greatest self.
Thank you for tuning in to The Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Tune in each week so we can work and grow together to become the best version of ourselves. Keep striving, keep dreaming, keep working, and embrace change. You may contact Pamela Chanel at info@thereinventedlife.com.